Hello, I'm Citrus, and you're looking at the 60 acrylic marker set from Arrtx. This time the name is not super descriptive, but they describe as liquid ink zero pumping. And let's just get into it real quick. So we lift off the top, have a Arrtx customer service card, and then all the markers come in 4 trays. So unlike their usual marker sets that hold the markers vertically, these hold them horizontally with a good reason that I will get into later. I'm doing this so that we can look at the bottom of the box. So here are all the colors that you get inside and the instructions for use. The difference between this set and the other markers that I've looked at previously is that there is an agitator inside of the marker. So you do have to actually shake these in order to make sure that you have a good even mix coming out of the tip. And the reason why I just took the markers out first without showing the whole box is because I want to disturb the ink as little as possible so I can show you what they're like on the inside. So pull the cap off very gently, and then you can just unscrew this, the end, and you can see what it's like. So right now this is in a relatively separated state. You can see the pigment and the solvent kind of just floating separately. And I guess a nice thing about they have the little clear window so you can kind of see what's going on the inside. So I just shake it, and you can see that shook pretty well, pretty quickly. Yeah. Of course, that will introduce air bubbles, but since you're going to be holding the marker down, the air is going to be up here anyway, so it shouldn't really interrupt the flow or anything like that. And the nib is, I think, the same as the other type that I've looked at before. So it's highly recommended, of course, as you can see here, to shake these with the cap on so that the ink doesn't go flying everywhere. All right, so to test these markers, we're going to do 3 tests. First, on paper. This is a matte side and a slightly glossy side, where we'll check for how the ink flows and layers with itself and how solid it looks. And then we'll test it on a black takeout container. So there's matte here, glossy here, and a curd surface here that we can test with. And once again, I've also curated a selection of kits for us to test the color match with. So let's just get right into it. For the paper test, I'm going to try 18 of the 60 colors. So I chose 6 solids, 6 pastels, and the 6 grays that come in the box. And I laid them out in a chart like this on both sides of the paper. And then once we go to the plastic test, we'll just pick a few of these in order to spot check against them for color accuracy. And starting with just the matte side first, you can still kind of see the brush strokes in each color. I did 2 coats for each one. This ink dries a little bit slower than the other Arrtx markers I've tried before, so you do need a little bit of patience while working with it. And some of the colors you can see cover better than others. So this pink here, T212, is a little bit streaky. I did my best to shake up each one, as you saw. And the colors do seem to dry a little bit darker than when the ink comes out. The white there looks like it's struggling a little bit, but we'll really find out when we test it on the black plastic. Otherwise, T730 is a little bit streaky compared to the other grays. I think 705, 713, and 715 look pretty okay actually. So on the semi-gloss side, you can see the coverage is pretty similar as it is on the matte side, but much more bubbles this time. So for example, here in 713, 412, 350, and also in the 799 in the black. So gotta be more careful with the application on smoother surfaces. By the way, the reason why there's a question mark next to 435 is because there's no sticker on it. All of the other markers are labeled their color with a sticker. Not the best way to do this. I would have preferred if, you know, all of the bodies had the number printed on it. I think it'd be easier for the sticker to like fall off or get rubbed off or something like that. But I also understand that it seems like this is just one part that's shared between all of the markers. You can tell because the barcodes are all the same. So it's probably a cost-saving measure on their part, which I can kind of understand. It's not the best. Now, let's check for color accuracy. So as usual, there's a little bit of a gap. Some colors are closer to others. To my eye, the purple is pretty close. But if we look at the green there, I think the color that comes out is quite a bit darker. The yellow is also a little bit darker. It may not be showing as much on the camera, but it definitely looks like it in real life. Orange is pretty close. Red as well. The pink, I think the camera's showing a bigger gap than I kind of see in real life, but yeah, that difference is definitely there. This lighter orange isn't bad. The yellow's pretty close too. Yeah. The green's definitely very different here, the lighter green. Light blue doesn't look too far off to me. And this like light lavender color, completely different temperature. The color that comes out is quite a bit cooler than the color on the cap. And on the gray side, well, the white is white. Yeah, this the color that comes out looks a little more green than the cap. Definitely looks darker to me, 713. And 715 is way more blue coming out than it is on the cap. Uh, 730 also looks darker and I want to say warmer. Oh, at least the black is black, I guess. And if we look it up really up close, it is genuinely a black. I wouldn't be able to tell you like what kind of base color it is. Sometimes when you have a black color and you shine on a really bright light, you can kind of see like a sheen that's like blue or red or something like that, depending on what colors were used to make the black. But this black actually looks pretty good. And same on the other side as well. I'm pretty sure the color matches on this side are, yeah, all about the same. Yeah. So color accuracy between the labeling on the caps and how they come out on paper is, I would say, I don't know, 80% this time. The grays are pretty much all straight misses, but the other colors are more accurate than I expected. So that's good. Alright, on the takeout container, we'll test these 8 colors. So we have red, yellow, blue, the pink, green, lavender, white, and one of the grays. Now, since plastic, of course, isn't absorbent, it's taking considerably longer to dry. You can see there the red is still a little bit wet, but the other colors are basically all dry. And on the matte, you can see the coverage is pretty good. And I would say the brushstrokes mostly disappear. But on the glossy part, wow, it really, really struggles. You can see the ink really pulls away from the edges as it kind of just like tries to shrink in on itself from surface tension. The viscosity here is pretty low. So you can see basically only the yellow, the red, and kind of the light green did an okay job of surviving this surface. And what that basically means is surface prep is really, really, really important for this particular ink just because it's so thin. Now, fortunately, most Gunpla, as I mentioned before, does not have a gloss surface like this. So there's usually something there for the ink to hold on to, but we'll find out in just a bit exactly how well it performs on Gunpla. First subject is going to be the Masquerade Nemo, where I'm going to try to match the green, red, and yellow there, which is kind of orange. So for the results, here are the reds. I guess technically this red here is the closest, but you can see it's still a bit too bright. This one is a little bit too pink. It kind of reminds me of the color on, I forget which one, but I think maybe the Real Great Justice or something like that. Yeah, but it's not like a real red. And this one over here is, just too light as well. And as for the greens, pretty much they all failed. And you can see I tried like 6 different colors here. This one and this one are kind of like Zaku-ish greens. The other ones are all just way too light, and this one's, a little bit too blue. I would say the Nemo is pretty much a normal green color, and there's just no green in the box. On the other hand, though, the orangey yellow did amazing. So this is T133, and you can see right there is where I colored over it, and aside from the texture difference, it's almost exactly the same color. And to test it even further, I also painted over the joint where it connects with the dark blue, and you can see that the color match is pretty spot on. It does look still a little bit patchy, so maybe 3 or 4 coats will get you all the way there. This is a color that's pretty common, I believe, on like the Advanced Zeta kits, and a lot of them do actually need a little bit of extra yellow to help them along, so this is a pretty useful color that I will probably use again in the future. And to help us test the normal Gundam colors, we have the high grade O Gundam for the blue, yellow, red, and maybe the gray, but I don't think there's one in this set that's dark enough. Alright, so for the results, of the 3 blues that come in the box that are the closest, the nearest shade is 452, which is right here along the bend. And you can see that basically, aside from the texture change pretty much, it's pretty close to the blue. I mean, it's a little bit lighter. But yeah, there's not an exact match, unfortunately. I think in some of the like normal Gundam type suits that have a lighter blue, maybe like I want to say like the RX 78 version 2.0, this would be probably a useful color. But other than that, the others are a little bit harder for me to be able to say. As for the reds, because I think the O Gundam has a slightly brighter shade of red than on the Nemo. The middle color, that would be this one, T252, actually matches pretty okay if you ask me. It's not too far off. And once again, the biggest success I think is also yellow. So that would be T123 right here. You can see I tried a couple other shades. So that one there is right here at the joint here is a little bit lighter. At least to my eyes, pretty obvious. And the other two are just, well, they're almost green to me instead of being yellow. But I think T123, which is the color that I use here at the joint, this one's probably the closest. Yeah, that's almost like an exact match. And it covers the gray really well. Once again, multiple coats would take care of the splotchiness, but the brush marks do disappear pretty well once it dries completely. Overall thoughts about these markers. The set currently retails for about $52 on Amazon, and that price can go down a little bit depending on whatever events or sales are going on. The biggest drawback for me of the set is the color spread, actually. If you just take a look at everything here, there seems to be a dearth of darker colors. Like you have like some darker purples, which is fine, but like the reds don't go very dark. Neither do the blues really, and the greens just have all kinds of weird temperatures going on. Like there's no normal green color in the set. I kind of feel like there's not really a normal orange in the set either. Like they all either are a little bit too light or a little bit too, well, brown. So that selection combined with the fact that you have to spend a little bit more money to get such a large set doesn't seem like a really great idea to me. I would much prefer personally to spend maybe a little bit more money per marker, but then get a smaller set with more focused colors, more of which that I'll actually be able to use in my projects. Now, depending on what kind of things you like to do, whether that's painting Gunpla or just doing other things, coloring with your markers, this set may work perfectly well for you, but for me, it kind of doesn't. The fact that there are only a couple of colors that I might be able to use in other projects moving forward means that I'm not personally going to get a ton of value out of this. And the other thing, of course, is the longer drying time. So the ink is thinner, and even though Gunpla does have a little bit of texture to it, the ink will still try to run away. Compared to the other acrylic markers that Arrtx make, this is just not quite as easy to use. Overall, this feels like a product that if I already had this because I did other art where I would use these and I needed a color that kind of matched something that I needed for a particular build, then I would just use this to kind of like make do. But as for a product that I would specifically go out to buy for improving the look of my Gunpla, this is probably not that. So a pretty good value set for art in general, but not something you should probably pick up for Gunpla specifically. So that's all for this review. Thanks to Arrtx for sending this set to me free of cost. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.